Hey, what is up, lovelies? It is Lynn the Gacha Goblin, and let's talk about main story updates. Now, main story updates is very interesting to discuss in Love and Deepspace because it is, to me, unlike any other gacha game that I play that updates their main story pretty frequently, whereas Love and Deepspace updates it almost every 6 months, which is a very, very big time frame to wait for another main story update. So if you're not used to playing gacha games, or if you're used to playing other gacha games and know that they come out pretty regularly in terms of like the plot for those stories, playing Love and Deepspace might actually just throw you off. And I think it is worth discussing as a topic to see like what the general consensus is of the community, really, if they want more main story or if they don't, because a lot of people are saying, why are you complaining about the main story right now? We just got a new story update last month. You can't expect them to bring out something new the following month. So it is an interesting conversation, and actually what sparked this idea for this video was a conversation that I had with Ufi over on X. Now, if you don't know who Ufi is, they are a cosplayer. They play a lot of gacha games also. They live stream on Twitch. And they're also very much into lore play. They play HSR, Honkai Impact, and Weathering Waves, and Love and Deepspace. So if you want to go check them out, go check out their YouTube channel or their Twitch channel. Okay, so Ufi here says in reply to Emily, so Emily said, honestly, I'd rather have more consistent main story updates than multi-banners every month, which is an interesting concept in its own. My personal opinion, without jumping into Ufi's just yet, is that having main story updates every month will definitely dilute the quality of the main story itself. I mean, you have other gacha games that wait a few weeks, like maybe 3 weeks, they have filler patches and whatnot, so that way they have time to build out the story and make it something that people will enjoy and people will understand and have a really good time exploring the lore. Now, going into what Ufi says here, she says, I mean, everyone wants main story updates in every game, but as a live service gacha game, there needs to be downtime between main story updates. More time for writers and animators to work and make it high quality without pumping out more mid-writing. At the end of the day, we want quality over quantity. This is why we have filler patches. Still something to keep us busy without having to bust their butts making a 10 out of 10 plotline for every single update. We just got a new story update last month. So last month we got the introduction of Caleb, and we also got a main story update, well, with Caleb's little, introduction, getting introduced into the story as this whole new character, this whole new love interest, and it was really fun to see the lore behind his character and how that's following into the main story as a whole. And I have a very interesting experience with Caleb's introduction as opposed to Silas's introduction. So with Silas's introduction, we both get 2 chapters for each of them, for Silas and Caleb, but the way that I consumed both of those story plot lines was completely different. With Silas's, I consumed it all in one sitting, which was probably a bad idea. Looking back, it was definitely 100% a bad idea to do that, because I expected way more out of the chapters. I didn't know what to expect, so my expectations were super high. I was caught off guard that it was only 2 chapters long, and was overall feeling not fulfilled. Even though the story was fantastic, the introduction was fantastic, the overall feeling, because I had consumed it so quickly, was just that, it was lacking in an epilogue or in like a little wrap up, a little bow tie at the end. What I had said in a previous video was that there should have been like an epilogue of the MC going back to Lincoln City and meeting all of the other guys and seeing what their reactions were to her being missing for quite some time. So that is actually what I wanted previously. But the way that I consumed Caleb's story was actually very different. The way I consumed Caleb's story, I knew it was only going to be 2 chapters. So I took my time, I didn't consume it in one sitting. I actually consumed it over a course of a few days. And it felt much better doing that. And I wish I did that with Silas's. But that being said, only getting 2 chapters in the course of 6 months is not the best, I would say, especially since those main story updates are heavily tied into the characters themselves, which is something I want to go back to. Because if you think about that, if we're finally going to get these 6 love interests and then another 2 chapters in the main story update, right? After that, and we have all of the, the complete roster of men in Love and Deepspace, then when are we going to get main story updates? Is it going to start coming out more frequently? Is it still going to follow the same 6-month pattern? It's something definitely to consider and to think about, because with Infold, we never know what's going to come out. We never know what their roadmap is going to be like. So all we can do right now really is to speculate. So I'm guessing like maybe in July or in June, we're going to see some sort of announcement that there's going to be another love interest being added into the game, which is absolutely insane considering, we just had Caleb, we're still consuming his content, we're still waiting for more Silas content. It's very interesting to see how this game is actually running itself. But that being said, like after that, what's going to happen in December after another 6 months? Are we going to get another 2 chapters? And how is that going to relate to the story? Are we going to go back? Like, are we going to double back and go over like 2 chapters with Xavier and then 2 chapters with Raphael and 2 chapters with Zane? Like, that would mean that the progression of the story is going to take so long. And not only that, but specific lovelies who stan specific love interests are going to have to wait possibly like a year and a half. It's kind of crazy to think about them only updating the main story every 6 months. So that is actually why I had gone and kind of asked Ufi here, genuinely asking because I want another POV in comparison to HSR, Genshin, ZZZ, and Wuwa. Do you feel like 6-month wait period for lads for main story updates is a good time frame? And then Uvi replies, yeah, 6 months is insane. Wait time between main story updates. Most gachas have about 2 months between main story updates. I'd much rather wait a few months for a 10 out of 10 story than have a 4 out of 10 story every month though. And I completely understand that. Like, I wouldn't want the story to progress that quickly. And even if it was progressing that quickly, I feel like the updates would be super small in terms of the main story updates if it was every month, and it wouldn't feel like a story at that point, not unless the writers and animators and the whole team in Love and Deepspace is super on top of things, that the quality does not drop with the frequency of how much effort that would take to bring out more content every month. So I'm not asking, or I'm not trying to push the idea of every month main story updates, because I feel like that is completely unrealistic. But I feel like if you look at our conversation here, I think a 2-month period is what lads really should be. It would give more opportunity to build the world leading up to Caleb, like the story branches. Those are really nice to feed off on, but now I feel like we're headed toward another lore drought. I think it would feel different if we had solo cards that actually added to the character lores of the main love interest, instead of waiting a year for another major myth memory pair to focus on them. Because if you think about it, while the solo cards are cute and fluffy, they're essentially filler patches back to back. Now, I definitely stand by what I said, because I enjoy all of like the spicy multi-banners, and we all know that the multi-banners are always probably going to be spicy, or like super super wholesome and like really sweet. But because that just generates a lot of money. But I do feel like if they somehow incorporated lore into the banners, maybe that's another fix for the lack of main story updates. Because if they're going to continue with the 6-month period, then maybe we can have something else to give us a little bit more lore and character build up, and also just like world building as to how maybe like the MC relates this character to this character, or seeing how, because the MC themselves in the main story is not particularly having a love line with any of the love interests. It's just like a neutral POV of the MC, and then you get all of these like cute experiences and romantic experiences in the banners. So if we had like a mix of the lore aspect and also like the dating aspect in the banners themselves, I think that would be really nice. And I think actually that they might be doing that now that I've seen what is coming out with Raphael's birthday banner, because it's so underwater themed, and him saying I'm bringing my love to my home. Maybe it is going to start being like that, like they're going to bring in a little bit more of that lore, because Raphael was definitely talking about Lemuria a lot in that new banner that's going to come out for his birthday. So hopefully that they're going to go in that direction, because I feel like it would fill a lot of the quote-unquote lore main story gaps between in that 6-month period. So that might be a fix. And then in terms of the myth memory pairs, it is kind of crappy that we have to wait 1 year before we get another myth memory. I understand like the mechanics of the battles and how those progress, and how it's going to get increasingly more difficult with the different stalactrum colors depending on what myth memories you have in your roster. So it is understandable why they would come out so far apart, but in terms of like how they're so deeply connected in the lore is a little difficult, because you have to get both of them, and they only come out once a year, and it's just, I feel like if they could do that with the solo cards too, it would be nice. Just like a little bit. They don't need to go like fully into the myth of the character. They could just do like what they're doing with Raphael, where they're just like alluding to it and doing a lot of callbacks to the different things that have already come out in the past. I feel like that would be really nice. And then Uvi replies here, 100%. 6 months is too long, but I think every 2 to 3 months would be perfect. And again, we both agree on this 100%. And I also want to ask you, lovelies out there, what do you think? Like, how often do you want the main story updates to come out? Is that something that you feel like is lacking right now, or is that something that you're okay with, like the time frame? Again, I am more concerned about how they're going to do main story updates after the 6th love interest is introduced, because I think they're only going to be 6 love interests in total. So how are they going to roll out those main story updates? Because so far main story updates have been very, very closely tied to the characters, like I said. So are they going to tie it in with the other characters now? Are they going back to the original 3? Or like, how is this gonna play out? We don't know. All we have is speculation. So let's have a let's have a discussion down in the comments down below, and let me know what you think. Like, give me your opinions, give me some suggestions, because it'll be interesting to see. Because if we have another survey coming up, or if you haven't filled out your survey yet, maybe asking for more frequent main story updates could be something that you add in a future survey with some, like, examples, like, hey, maybe do main story updates 2 to 3 months time frame, or give them ideas of something else, so that way we can all participate in how well this game is going to improve in the future. Okay, anyway, that is pretty much it. If you want to subscribe to the channel, I cover love in Deepspace, and yeah, that is pretty much it. Thank you all so much for watching. I am Lynn, the Gacha Goblin, and I will see you lovelies in the next video. Okay, bye bye now.